I think we're going to start. If anyone's in the hallway, will someone round them up and let them know we're gonna report back? I don't want everyone to leave before we get to hear from the working group. So I got to chat briefly earlier with these amazing folks who were leading or participating in all of the working groups the past 2 days, and they have a lot of really exciting stuff to report back. So let me say a few things. I know we're kind of getting to the end. I first want to thank everyone again for what I think was an amazing conference. Maybe just, I got a lot of good energy from everyone. I got a lot of good ideas. People seemed really excited and engaged, so I hope you all thought it was a great conference too. Let me say a few things, and then we'll have them speak, and then I'm going to actually have a couple other folks just come say a quick goodbye as well, and thank you. So first was just, we are definitely going to be sending out a survey to everyone that asks a little bit of feedback about both the logistics and how the conference went, your ideas. I've gotten a lot of other ideas. And also about some of the issues, too, that you thought were really pressing and things that we can move forward. Because I think what I found at the end of this was people are coming out with, here are the top 2 or 3 things I really want to do. And we're going to hear about the top 2 or 3 things that each of the working groups identified, too. We also, as you know, have videos of all of the sessions. Unfortunately, we don't get them overnight, so it's going to take a little bit of time to post them all. But we will get a notice out to everyone once those are posted, and they'll be online. You'll be able to access all of them. So that'll be really great. And we're going to do a report of the conference. We're not going to do a report of what everyone said in every session, because you can watch the videos for that. But at least a little bit of high-level findings, what we did over the few days, some of the feedback we get from the survey, so that we have that. And we really hope that these working groups, some of them have specific plans of next steps. Some of them are going to be sending out notes and talking about next steps. But I think our hope would be that as many as possible of the working groups continue to work together, because that was part of the idea of this conference, was for people to connect that have a shared interest in an issue where having several sectors at the table together could have more of an impact than we each can day to day on our own. So those are the main takeaways. I think I heard a lot of other thoughts around, we had a lot of people in the room, who else to have, who else to be getting here. So I took those, definitely all that feedback. It sounds like from a lot of people, I also heard we need more success stories. So I think we have a lot, but everyone was talking about where are the case studies of this issue or that issue, and there's success stories we heard about in the sessions, but how are we highlighting those and profiling those? So that was really good. And I think another thing that came up a few times, and I know, this was something that even came up in the last session, was just making sure we are prioritizing prevention over recovery, even though both are important. So I think something that I'm going to take back to my work. So thank you for all of you for sharing ideas with me the past few days. I'm going to sit down, and we're going to go down the line, actually, and have each of the working groups report back. I've asked them to be really quick. I made them practice being really quick. So I'm going to be on you if we take too long. But just like the top 2 to 3 takeaways from the working groups. So I will sit back down, but I'll ask Steve to go first. Introduce yourself, because not everyone knows you, and which working group you were with, and then say your takeaways.
Sure. This will only take a half hour. Steve Finn from University of Pennsylvania and Response Ecology. The group was on creating alliances for effective food donation, essentially. And just a handful of things really quickly. Really all of these transcended kind of the 4 bullet points that we were operating within, which were federal policy levels, state and local, innovation, and then resources and data issues. One thing that came up, need better data, right? That came up in a lot of the sessions today, this repository on food security, where the meal gap is, really to allow organizations to plan and operate effectively and to get funding, essentially. And also just at a base level to facilitate collaboration. So lots of room for better data. Education was a key theme, big opportunity to increase food donations through better education. Really just at a base level, more aggressive messaging about, one, the viability and safety of food donations, and second, the hierarchy in general, and just alternatives that are available to potential donors. So education is a big thing. The nutrition focus link we thought was really important to increase donations of healthy food, and getting comfortable with having the conversation with potential donors about, listen, we really want to shift this to donations of with a healthy food focus. So overcoming the discomfort that's existed to date with that. Embracing alternative partners and funding sources, showing the business case examples, partnering with organizations in the healthcare industry. Obviously, healthy food up front is going to reduce food in the cost in the long term. The last couple, just prioritizing, effectively managing donor relationships, being reliable and overcoming liability concerns, two key things there, and focusing on overcoming barriers to donations.
I'm Bill Riggert with Food Donation Connection. Our group focused on clarifying food safety practices to support food donation. We came up with three key areas. One is to connect with Council on Food Protection and have them revisit their donation procedures with an eye to incorporating those procedures into a future food code. And we felt this was there's not necessarily a need for new regulation, but a need to clarify and standardize procedures, streamline procedures that are already there. Our second area of focus is to urge our federal cross-agency cooperation with USDA, EPA, and FDA to work on strategy in food donation to provide some leadership there. Our third area would be to develop materials that help local donors and local agencies and organizations work better with their local health inspectors so that we can do a good job of presenting to local health inspectors what we're intending to do and why we know that we can do it in a food safe manner.
Great. So I'm Teresa Snow with Salvation Farms, and I helped co-facilitate the Infrastructure for Farm Surplus Working Group. And we kind of boiled the topics down into two areas, and ironically, infrastructure was one in the Infrastructure for Farm Surplus Working Group. And infrastructure identified to help ease farm logistics, labor, and increase efficiency on farms in both in the collection, the processing, the value adding, and the movement of farm surplus products, with a priority for market development. And policy to support labor and market development through funding equity. And so more funding, both through policy and I would say through the philanthropic communities, to localize regional programs and projects instead of the large corporate interests, lobbied interests, and to change crop subsidies to support diversity and post-harvest labor. We think that if you fund the more on-the-ground projects, it allows for more collaboration and less competition when resources can tend to be scarce at that level. Next steps, we're just going to be sharing information and collaborating beyond what we've done so far.
Hi, my name is Ronnie Neff, and I'm from the Johns Hopkins University Center for a Livable Future. And I was with the Changing Behavior Through Consumer Education and Awareness group. And we had about 3 to 4 single-space pages of ideas that came up. So hopefully we can share those in detail as well. But some focus areas, there was a lot of discussion in the groups about school systems and the importance both of reaching kids and the power of teachers in shifting the conversation. A lot of discussion about specific types of interventions that could go on in grocery stores to educate consumers, as well as bringing about change higher up the food chain that affects consumers. A number of ideas related to changing the incentives and changing the defaults so that the choice that we would hope people make is the default choice. And a lot of these had to do with how landfill fees or bans would be structured to shift those behaviors. And then at a meta level, there was a discussion of the diversity of consumers and the need for more understanding of how change happens across cultures and need to incorporate those understandings in that research. A lot of emphasis on pilots and assessing their effectiveness. And we wrapped up with the discussion of all the lessons that have been learned over the years, both from what worked and what didn't work through recycling, and how we can bring that to the wasted food conversation.
Hi, my name is Joanne Burke, and I'm with the University of New Hampshire Sustainability Institute, and our group was the one that was clarifying the need to clarify label dates. And we did agree that the need at the federal level to have more clarity over the dates and what they mean was really something that needs to happen federally, and that this would impact some of the state and regional kinds of unique labeling that's there. We then also identified, lo and behold, education as a primary need, and really two big phases in that. One right now to start to educate our colleagues and other circle of who we work with and engage with so that they understand the bills going forward, and that we would borrow the law center's talking point sheets. We were going to develop them, but then they have them, so we figured we did that. And then also the second phase of once this really gets clarified and passed, the consumer education at multiple levels, and also framing this not just as food recovery, but also as recovery that could also serve business enterprise, and so that it moves into the larger frame of food that isn't going to be tossed, all the avenues it could go with. We did identify research gaps, consumer behavior. We actually thought a reality TV show where we follow people wasting food. So anyway, I don't know about that one, given the 18 months it took for the strawberry.
Who wants to volunteer?
We figure there's a lot of people that want to be on TV. And then innovation, surely like the smart labels and other pilot programs, so that we can really look at what's happening and looking at national and international groups that are doing highly innovative projects.
We were part of Mike Peterson with World Wildlife Fund, and this is David Growing from NFI. We did tackling food distribution and logistics. So this was an idea that was born, I'd say, probably 4 weeks ago. And it was, okay, let's do this. Let's all the trucks and all the cars on the road right now that are running food, a lot of them aren't even full, right? David, for example, manages, you mentioned 30 million miles of empty trucking happening just with his logistics company. And so it was simple. It's like, yes, we have this conference, let's create an app, Uber has it, and everything's solved, right? We'll start filling these empty trucks with food and we'll ship it all around. Wrong. Okay. Anybody who was in our sessions the last 2 days, this is incredibly complex. We didn't at all figure it out. But what we did take away from it was that there is a huge opportunity to try to create an incentivized system, an incentive system that has to be simple and it has to be something that the logistics community might be able to use. And this was also David's first time coming to a food waste party. So I want to just hand it mic to him and just let him give his take on it. It seems very valuable for the year.
Thanks. Glad there's not a whole lot of hazing going on around here. Yeah. It could have been a lot worse. It's been enlightening, and I came here as a logistics expert, trying to understand the challenges and participating in a couple of local opportunities in Philadelphia. I think, as Pete said, our company will operate, we operate 2,500 trucks. We will drive 250 million miles this year as a company. 10 to 12% of our equipment will run empty back from where it came from. But the challenge is how to match that up. How does it fit? So when we started talking about this, some of the things that we really are trying to approach that we think make some sense are, one, understanding from a service provider perspective, not just the asset provider, what that tax liability, tax benefit could be for them with respect to providing that service. But then secondly, how do you arm everybody with the information to understand what is a good match? So when does it make sense for both parties so that everybody is on the same page and people don't get frustrated? Because I think it's frustrating when one party doesn't understand what the other does. The part of why I was here was to understand it from the other side to try to get that perspective. And then the only other thing I can say is that data rules this world. And one of the things I think is maybe missing a little bit here that could be of a heavy focus is know what you're doing, understand what you're moving, know where it's going. The more data you have around that, the easier it is to match up logistics companies. Because one thing trucking companies know is they know where their trucks are. And they have the ability to be able to report on that. So being able to match it up on paper is the first step. So if you know where your freight or where your moves are, where your donors and where your recipients are, that's the best first step to matching it up with somebody that can help.
Thank you. I think I'm going to ask you guys one question because a few people hit on this, but just if you can report if there's any next step that the group is going to take, or what you think the next step will be. Not everyone has to do this, but if your group has something lined up, that would be great to hear too. Just to encourage everyone to stay involved, or if someone wants to join a group now that they've heard more about it, if they can email you, that would be nice too.
So I think for us, I mean, like we said, we started a little bit before the conference, and we've added a couple people to our little club. And I think we're going to get some help from Karen Hanner, and maybe have Deloitte and or some other groups help us with kind of simulating what tax incentives would be good on the logistics end, and really try to make this something we can have as an example.
Sure. Our group did decide to get together again virtually at some point, but also to work on that first level of reaching out and letting people know this legislation is there to move forward with Shelley Pingrease. And yes, we would welcome anyone who wants to join the group, particularly if you want to be in a movie.
I can't top the movie opportunity, but we discussed forming an email list, and I think it would be really interesting to take that last conversation about the lessons from recycling and do some writing about that. So hopefully we will convene on that.
I think you guys need me. I can't flag that much. Yeah, our group had just discussed a listserv, but I think that there is great potential even through that, making a network of collaboration, and I think there could be some work done certainly on the policy side, considering the Farm Bill is coming up.
Our group's going to continue to get together, and thanks to some support from Harvard and Emily's group, we're going to be working on putting a proposal together for the food conference for food protection. And since food service is important to us all, we certainly would welcome anyone that chose to attend another session for whatever reason to get involved with us. And you can contact us through me or through Emily. Okay, through me, I'm at bill.riggett@foodtodonate.com.
Likewise, our group is sharing emails and plans to continue to get together and talk about issues. To the point about data ruling everything, I would pair that with stories rule everything. I think the comment was made in our group that of the value of sharing stories, success stories, and I think all of the broad groups in our session can learn from one another, and I think we should, we'll circulate some of those, and hopefully that'll incent other successful efforts.
Thank you. That was great. I think I think there's a lot more to ask. I'm sure people here have questions, but I want to keep us on time. Make sure to get you out right in the middle of this big storm. But I think I'm going to join me in thanking this group, and then I'm going to ask actually our other steering committee members to come back up for another minute, so we can just close out here. But join me in thanking this group. I want to say thank you for the work you guys did in the work group. Okay, so in the last few minutes here, I wanted to just, before I turn it over to John and Chris to say a few words, I want to thank everyone again for being here, but I really also want to thank our steering committee members and our partners at EPA, Mass DEP, and Recycling Works in Massachusetts. So join me in thanking them. They were amazing for us. We couldn't have done it without their help. And I also want to thank again my staff at the Food Law and Policy Clinic. You guys have seen them working tirelessly at the registration table with the microphones, taking notes, doing notes in the working groups. A lot of people have said that the conference was really smooth. I don't want to comment for all of you if you thought it went smoothly. I did, and it's mostly thanks to them, pulling all the pieces together so that I didn't worry about those things. So I thank them from the bottom of my heart. I hope you'll join me in thanking them too. And I think the last thing I'll say before I turn it over to these guys to say anything else is that I'm just really grateful for all of you for being here, and we wouldn't have had a conference if no one came, so thank you to all of you, and feel free to stay in touch, send us ideas, thoughts, recommendations, projects we can work on, so thank you again.
So I just wanted to say a real quick thank you on behalf of the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection. I know for me this has been really an amazing 2 days of learning. It's actually been an amazing 3 days of learning for some of us. Very intense 3 days of learning, but really packed with great conversations, great connections. And I really look forward to building on all of those over the coming weeks and months and years even. I hope you guys get the same value out of this conference here over the past couple of days. I want to again thank Emily and her team for their partnership through this conference. I think they've done a great job, so just another round of applause for them. And also, on behalf of Chris and Tom and Dale, you guys are welcome to add. I think it's been a really great partnership through the conference committee, but also all of these working groups and the other organizations that have come in and worked with us on the conference. It's been really a great experience. So thank you so much. I hope it was really valuable for everyone, and really glad to be here. Thank you.
Okay, so I forgot to thank Harvard this morning. So since we're thanking, let's do another thank you, because I got nervous. So, what a question. And I also wanted to just thank you for the space. The space was great. Thank you all for coming. And really, we do want to follow up with you. I know there was a little frustration that we didn't put email addresses on the participant list. So if you want, we're easy to find. I'm a public person, Beling. Find me and I'll make any connections that you can't make, and I will take you up on that. So again, thank you. My states that are here, I really like to showcase Vermont, Massachusetts, and Connecticut and all the good work they're doing, and it's just been a fun party. So thank you for coming, because when we threw it, we were nervous.
And with that, safe travels wherever you're going, and thank you again. Hopefully we'll be in touch with everyone.